Hey everybody, it's me, Tony. I want to shoot a video. It's 10 o'clock at night, and I am loud, and I don't want to be loud in my apartment. The lady lives real close to me. She'll hear it. She might get mad at me, and I don't want her to get mad about that. Bret, the Hitman Hart. I called Mr. Flair the greatest wrestler ever. Arguably, Bret is the greatest wrestler ever. I don't think he is, but he's arguably the best. And I'm going to tell you why I think he's great. Number one, tremendous worker. Tremendous worker. He came up in from the Hart family. He was in the dungeon. His father liked to hurt people. His father Stu Hart knew how to hurt you. He knew how to break your arm. He could break your leg. He could kill you. His father was a real wrestler. He was a real shooter. And Bret's a shooter, I'm sure. Shooters are people who can hurt you. They know how to shoot the joints. They know how to break bones. They know what they're doing. And Stu was incredibly strong. He said, and I'm sure Bret's incredibly strong. You know, Bret never talked about it, but, you know, in his movie it showed him doing some dumbbell presses. And I'm sure that was just play to him. I'm sure Bret's very strong. About 235. He still looks 235. He looks old, but he looks 235. He looks good, but he's had a hard life. So he had a hard life coming up. He said that his dad would put so much pain on him because, you know, when they were wrestling, that his eyes would turn red. And that when he went to school, even though they were wrestling promoters and they were making good money, people laughed at him. And he said he was made fun of. And he tells this story in one, I think it was his movie, where this kid that was bigger than him wanted to fight, and he didn't really want to fight, but he showed up, and I don't even think the guy got scared and showed up. I don't know if there was a real fight. But I bet you Bret's been in a lot of fights, and I wouldn't fight him now. So I said you looked old, Bret. I don't mean that, because, you know, if you saw this, I don't want you to... It would be an honor if you beat me up. I'd be honored. I just hope you didn't hurt me. It would be an honor to get beat up, because you're something else. I respect you a lot. I like you. Mr. Flair, I don't know if I'd like him. I can't say that. I can say I respect him, but so many things that I've heard about him, I don't know. Because he doesn't seem to say anything nice about anybody, really. He talks about Harley Race nice. He talked about Bret like he was some kind of dog. He didn't have anything nice to say about Bret. So, that's all I know. Like he said, Diesel was nothing. Diesel was nothing. And Diesel is not nothing. Diesel was a great wrestler. Diesel was a great showman. Diesel was a great salesman. He sold the moves. And he gave Bret a great match. Bret and him had a great match. So I would never say Mr. Diesel is nothing. Mr. Diesel is a great man. He's a great... He was great in that movie where he played that prison guard where he played the football. He was great. So he's a great guy. I like him. I like Diesel. The real Diesel. I don't know anything about the fake Diesel. But Bret was a hard worker. He put in 15 years straight of 5 to 6 days a week, all over, everywhere. He's wrestled every, and the tail end of his career, the WWE, was flying everywhere, all over the world. And when he started, he was driving everywhere. He was doing that 500 miles up, 500 miles down for $25. He did that. He did that. He worked in his dad's promotion. He worked in the WWE. He went to Memphis and wrestled Jerry Lawler. He went to Texas and wrestled Terry Funk in one of his last matches before on Terry's 19th retirement. You know, Terry's up to, 27 retirements, 52? You know, he's always retiring. Terry's 70, he's still wrestling. He's still wrestling at 67. He won a belt when I was in San Diego. He was 67, won a belt. He was wrestling. So, you know, Bret is a worker. Bret worked very hard. Bret had his career ended by Mr. Goldberg, who kicked him in the head, and he got sick. He had a stroke. Bret almost died. We almost lost him. You know, I don't say this. I never met him. I never did anything with him, but, you know, I feel a sense of loss. I feel a friendship with these people. I feel a kinship because my life has been difficult. I've worked hard, and I wrestled in college. You know, I'm a wrestler too, just not a very good one. I'm not with them. You know, like last night, I watched a tape with Mr. Perfect, and it was on the radio, and I had to turn it off because it hurt so much listening to it. thinking about this young man been dead 12, 13 years and how beautiful he was and what a wrestler he was. And he wore that thing where he had one side of his thing, and he dressed a certain way, and he carried himself, and he walked a certain way, and he threw his towel a certain way. I mean, he was just cool, you know. And Bret had that. Bret had those glasses that he gave to the little kids. He wore the black jacket. He had the pink. He had it. He was a great showman. He looked good. He did a good interview. His mic skills, he's a little repetitive, you know, where he would say the best there is, the best there was, the best that ever will be. You know, he's a little robotic. And his wrestling was that way. He and Flair both tend to do the same matches. Flair does that thing, that move where he runs up to the rope and jumps over the rope and falls out and comes around. A lot of some, the Russian leg sweep was one of Mr. Hart's finishing maneuvers. He did that a lot. He could do a figure four leg lock. Even late in his career, he did that figure four leg lock off the ring. So he was very innovative. He was a very good wrestler. He was an excellent wrestler. Ric Flair made an argument once that he never got in the ring, and that that Bret wasn't a collegiate champion, which he could have been. And his brother was going to go into wrestling, and he decided not to. I mean, why go into wrestling in college and work for nothing for 4 years when you can go out and make, at that time, probably $500 a week? Or now you could make $2,000 a week. 10 years ago, when I looked on the WWE magazine, jobbers made $2,000 a week. I mean, come on. That's money. Go wrestle for somebody. Kick you on a thing. And you get your arm broke one day, and they say, I'm sorry, son. You know. And then a year later, they go, well, we can't honor that scholarship. Your arm's broke. You know, you're shit out of luck. Okay? He didn't want to be shit out of luck. He wanted money. So I don't blame him. He did it. So he had good mic skills, a little repetitive. I think, to a certain extent, Bret is like Mick Foley. He's eclipsed wrestling, just like The Rock is eclipsed wrestling. He's moved on. Bret wrote several books, and I knew he was a star when I saw him at his WWE acceptance speech. When he gave his speech, and he talked about his brother, and it was beautiful. And then he says, I just want to let all you guys know, all the wrestlers out there, everybody, that the best chance you have, if you want to rise to the top, is to give yourself over to loneliness. Fear nothing, and work hard. One thing you'll discover is that life is less than you thought about what you learned, and much more than you thought about what you had inside of you right from the beginning. So he was essentially saying, it's in you. You're either great or you're not. You either have the burning desire, the will, the desire. I said that before. The desire, the want to, the blazing, burning, scorching hot desire to do it. You either have it or you don't. There's no sense in trying to do the 10,000 hour rule, because you don't have it, bro. You don't have it, lady. You either have it or you don't. That's why he's great. He put in the time. He learned his craft, and he had a magic about him. And he was something else. And that's all I got to say.